Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Kwanzaa, and Happy Hanukkah. I think I covered everybody. Welcome to the December 8th edition of Black Authors Matter TV, where we interview some of the amazing people in the book industry, authors and other people who are active in the book industry, as well as bring you book industry news. I'm Gwen Richardson. I'm your host, and I'm joined by my co-host,
Dr. Rhonda Lawson.
And we're excited about our lineup tonight. We have a really interesting guest. We have a couple that has written a historical fiction novel. Their names are Damani and Effie Keene. And if I'm mispronouncing their names, they'll let me know. We have two authors who are going to be talking about leadership from different perspectives.
Awesome.
We have Dr. Gary Damon Jr., who's going to be talking about it from a corporate perspective. And then we have Kevin Wayne Johnson, who's going to be talking about it from a minister's perspective. And then we have a children's author who has a book called I Don't Like Racism. So very timely book. So before we go to our first guest, I'd like to bring you a little bit of news. Each week for the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about the NAACP Image Awards. The admissions are open for submissions. The submission window is open. And the NAACP Image Awards has a literature category where they have 8 different segments or genres of books. So if you're interested in submitting your book to be considered for a nomination, the deadline is December 18th. And I encourage everyone who has a book that they think could be competitive. And by that, I mean subject matter, presentation, the cover, has it been well edited? Because if it's not well edited, then it's really not a good idea to submit it. But I've been nominated twice, as I said before. I got nominated 2 years back to back, 2015 and 2016. And it was a very exciting experience. I didn't win in my category, but just attending and being nominated is publicity you cannot buy. And you get to meet all kinds of people in the book industry and celebrities, because all of the book nominees, the literature nominees, are with the people who are nominated for movies and TV shows. Now, the A-list people, they don't mingle with the regular people. Ask me that. I did get to hobnob with a few people because I met Wendell Pierce at the Image Awards, and because I met him, I asked him then would he be a featured author at the National Black Book Festival, and he said yes. So he was mingling. Most of them don't, but he was mingling with the, those of us who just knew and just getting our names out there. Anyway, I encourage you to submit your book, and the website is NAACPimageawards.net. So go there.
It's probably important to point out that in order for your book to be considered, it has to have been published during that year.
Very good. Yes, it has to have been published in 2020. So from January 1st through December 31st, as far as your pub date, because they only do books that were published that year. That's what they do each time.
I need them to hurry up. I need the copyright people to hurry up and approve my workbook, because workbooks can be judged too, I believe.
Yeah, because it could be under instructional. Because that's my scholarship book on Deaf Free College was in the instructional category. So the one more bit of information before we bring our first guest on. BuzzFeed News, they this happened a while back, but I just found out about it. They created a list of 24 Black bookstagrammers, which I didn't even know was a thing. But apparently they're like book reviewers who have pages on Instagram, and they review books and feature books, and being a bookstagrammer is a thing. So we're hoping to have a bookstagrammer on the show sometime in the first quarter of 2021. We're working on that. So
that would be awesome.
So without further ado, we're going to now, our first guest is Damani and Effie Keene. There are 2 different people, so I don't know which one is the one where they are on themselves. But I see the book cover, and we're waiting for them to come on.
I think they just have to turn on their video. Okay, there
Yeah,
we go.
okay, there you go. Hello, how are you?
Great.
We're
How
doing
about
just great.
yourself?
Okay, well, we're great. Welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is great.
And you all have been married a while because you all speak simultaneously. And that's a sign of being in sync. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I love it.
Speak simultaneously.
Yeah.
Now I think you all have a device on that has the sound. So the other device that you're using, you need to turn the sound all the way
Yeah, you
down
might have to mute it.
because
There
it
we
creates
go.
an echo,
I
and
think
it's a 20-second delay, which really makes it distracting. So, okay. So you all have a book that you wrote. It's historical fiction. It's called Clandestine. Now, is this you all's first book?
No, it's his first book, but my third book.
Right.
Okay, so is this
Yeah.
your first book that you co-authored?
Yes.
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 it
So she
is.
pulled you into the literary fold. That's what it sounds like.
No, he pulled me into the historical.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is my first attempt with historical fiction. Twice published author of 2 novels.
Okay, great. Now, did I pronounce your name correctly, Damani? And is it Effie?
And
Ife.
Ife. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Now tell us a little bit about the storyline for Clandestine.
Okay. Well, first of all, thanks for having us on. We're really pleased, and we'd read about the National Book Festival and trying to figure out how we could get to Houston. You know, when we first heard about it, that's about 2-3 years ago. So it's good to be able to be with you virtually.
Well, we're hoping to be in person in 2021,
Yeah.
but if not,
I know.
it'll be 2022. It all depends
There you go.
on,
I know.
But since our event is later in the year,
Right.
we're
Hopefully
hoping
by then we
that
would have
by
gotten some
then we will have,
vaccines.
it'll be
That'll be great.
it'll
That'll
be enough to where we can do it. But if not, we'll do it
Right.
virtually like we did this year, and we'll keep
That'll be
it
great.
moving. So
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank you for providing a platform for Black authors to present their work. That is just so very, very important, and we really appreciate you having us.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we look forward. This has really been an interesting and exciting journey because we've just met so many different people that have some so interesting, their lives are interesting, their storylines, just their ideas and concepts. So and the people who watch the show really appreciate it. They appreciate being able to be introduced to authors from all over. So we had someone from Canada a couple of weeks ago. So, but tell us about Clandestine.
Okay, well, Clandestine is really a saga of resistance and resilience, and it's inspired by the true story of my great-grandmother, Mariah.
Wow.
Who was enslaved in the 1800s, lived long enough for emancipation. She was given away at 10 years old as a wedding gift.
Wow.
This is all very well documented. We know who her quote owners were. She was born in Mississippi, went to New Orleans, or near New Orleans, and then to Tennessee, where most of the action in our book takes place. So she grew up to be according to family lore, to be a spy for the Union.
Yes.
Wow.
And so I was doing family research after I retired, and we moved here to the Republic of Panama. And one night, I came across just a ton of information after looking for years, literally. And there it was. So we decided to go to Franklin, Tennessee, where Mariah is buried, and my grandparents. And we just were inspired. You know, we poured libation at their graves and met the local historians who gave us a lot of information. And so we embarked on that story, and the ancestors have been with us ever since. You know.
Yeah, we had no idea of the impact that Mariah had in Franklin, Tennessee. When we arrived there, they treated us as if we were Mariah.
Celebrities.
Oh, wow, that's something.
That's amazing.
It is
Because-
amazing that her legacy continued for generations.
Well, you know, you mentioned earlier that you actually knew who her owners were. Have you ever
Yeah.
met the owner's family or anything like that?
We have not. We have met a gentleman who wrote a best-selling book in which Mariah was one of 3 or 4 main characters. But we've not reached out to that family. But we have met some of her other relatives, and it's been very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
So you follow her from, do you follow her from childhood through the end of her life? Like, do you?
Basically,
book?
from a very, very young age, about 8, until
Okay.
her death in 1922. You know, she had quite an interesting life story. Just to try to give you just a hint of some of the things that we uncovered. On July 6th of 1867, shortly after the end of the Civil War, there was a riot in Franklin, Tennessee. It was an armed confrontation between the group of conservatives and the group of radicals. Interestingly enough, both groups had Black and white members. And we found, I really shouldn't say that. It was shown to us where Mariah had submitted a deposition because she was a witness to who fired the first shot, which was a controversy.
Wow.
Was it the conservatives, who were mainly former Confederates, or was it the radicals, who were mainly members of the Union League, or sometimes called the Lincoln League? And she gave her testimony that no, it was the conservatives who fired first. And so just to find gems like that in our history. But let me tell you something that really struck us along the way. We thought we were going to write a simple family story, you know.
That's how we began.
Okay.
but it turned into this saga, you know. But what we discovered along the way is that we weren't just writing a story about Mariah's family. This we found out was a story. So much of it is for all of our families.
Definitely.
Right.
We would tell a friend of ours here in Panama the fact that she was given away as a wedding gift. He said,
So
my
was mine.
ancestors were given away as a wedding gift.
Thing.
You know,
Exactly the same.
You know, what's
Wow.
amazing though is that people have so many stories, and there are so many stories about our family members that we miss out on because we haven't taken the time to do that level of research.
Yes.
So, I mean, I believe that this book could actually be something that may inspire other people to find out the stories of their ancestors.
And that is
My
one of the
sister.
reasons that we wrote it.
Preach.
That is it. That is one of the primary reasons.
It really is.
Yeah, and another is that we just wanted to write a story that would uplift African culture.
Yes.
Okay.
And a story that, a truthful, fact-based story.
Yep.
There have been so many distortions about our history that we wanted to kind of set straight.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's a book that is pretty blunt and truthful.
It's not an easy
Well,
read.
but that's great. You know, a lot of people who write about historical fiction, especially when it's tied to their own families, there's normally one or two facts that they have, like you knew she was given away as a wedding gift, and you would now, you know, Alex Haley, whose people were from Tennessee, also,
Yes.
he knew about the foot being cut off, and you know,
Yes.
Kunta Kinte went to find some wood to make a drum. And he
Right,
knew a
right.
little bit, and he was able to piece together the rest. But
Right.
they started with a little nugget.
That's true. That's true. And that's how we began. And so it's been just amazing. I'd like to just um, tailgate on what my wife just said, because history has been used as a weapon against our people.
Mhm.
And I mean, in dastardly ways. We've been lied to about our history, about what our ancestors did and civilizations that they built, and the culture that they brought with them when they came to the Americas. And so, as she said, we wanted to tell a fact-based story. And of course, it is historical fiction, because we weren't there to hear what Mariah said to her second husband, who was my great-grandfather, you know. So we
Right.
had
So
to make
you
that
had
up.
to embellish, or
Right.
you know,
Right.
use
Right.
creative license, as they say, to weave
Exactly.
together the story.
We weren't there to hear the
Being-
personal conversations.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You couldn't interview
Exactly.
them yourself.
Right. But being history buffs and loving Black history, we knew that there were people known as cimarrones, which in Spanish, which means free people, escaped people, wild people. And that name over time became Seminoles. And so before the Underground Railroad went north, the Underground Railroad went south to Florida, because the Spanish who were ruling Florida at the time promised freedom to any escaped African who was willing to accept Christianity. And so our people from, especially in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, they went south. And the earliest historical event in our book is the Stonewall Rebellion from 1739. And those people in South Carolina, they were heading to Florida. And so we were able to include that story in the story for Mariah's ancestors, who in actual fact, we do not know. We don't know anything about her blood family prior to her birth in Mississippi in 1838.
Yeah, so historical fiction really allowed us to tell an intriguing, exciting, and fact-based story
Right.
that intermingles actual characters, actual historical
Right.
events with
Mhm.
fictional characters, circumstances, events, and
Right.
conditions.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Oh.
And
Now
let me say,
you all are living in Panama now, or you visiting?
yes,
You're living in Panama. Okay.
yes.
I've been to Panama once.
Have
Oh,
you?
have
All right.
you?
All right.
It was
Yeah,
on a cruise,
Oh,
so I
okay.
didn't really get to, you know, it was a cruise stop.
yeah,
But
we've lived here for 16
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
oh boy, okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, we continue to be international.
That's
Yes.
right.
Technology is an amazing thing,
Isn't
It
that wonderful?
is.
you know.
Well,
We
you
probably
have
wouldn't
a
be here
number
if
of
it
comments here I'd like to read to you. I mean, people are really into this. Bernita Francine said, "This is my kind of book." Janice Kearney said, "Absolutely, thank you for writing our stories." Bernita also wants to know what you plan to do in the future.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Right
you know-
now, we're pretty isolated.
We're right now I'll tell you what we really like to do. We would like to have your viewers, these book lovers, to check out Clandestine. The subtitle is the Times and Secret Life of Mariah Odie Reddick. It's a fascinating story. There was family oral history that her second husband, Bolin, my great-grandfather, went to jail. And we weren't sure until I found him in the census in the Tennessee State Penitentiary.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So now I won't tell you. I won't give
We
away
won't give away the story.
why he went to jail, if he was guilty, and all that. But I will tell you this: we found the court records where he challenged the makeup of the
phone is
jury.
going off. I'm sorry if y'all hear that. I'm trying to make it stop.
Okay. We
There we
found
go.
the court records where he challenged the makeup of the jury because they weren't a jury of his peers. Remember, this is 1868.
Yeah.
And he challenged the prosecutor in the case because he was a member of the Klan, and the prosecutor was dismissed from the case. So our ancestors didn't play, and we're happy to tell that story. So for the question about the future, we're hoping that we'll come first of all to the National Black Book Festival the next time y'all have it in person.
Yeah, well, we can come virtually this year.
Right.
As I listen to your story, I think about there was a T-shirt that had gotten very popular at one time that said, "I am not my ancestors," and then there wound up being a backlash.
My mouth, Rhonda. I was ready to say the same thing.
Well, there was a backlash against the T-shirt.
Yes,
Should've been.
those people, those children, I call them children because they need to be either like going through some sort of mind, how they reprogram people's minds, because clearly they don't know their ancestors.
Absolutely.
Right.
Clearly.
Absolutely.
And it took a strength to be able to do what they did because they were looking at the bigger picture. I mean, everybody wasn't just scared into submission.
Exactly.
Right. And plus, if they had been too radical, we wouldn't be here.
That's
They dealt with a lot of stuff so we could be here.
Absolutely.
Right. One of the stories we tell is about African Fort, which is in was in Apalachicola, Florida. And it was a fort that the British built and abandoned after they lost the War of 1812. But it was maintained and with arms by Africans and Native Americans under the command of General Garcon. And they fought the Americans from that fort with cannon and carbines and rifles. And those are our ancestors.
Yeah, our ancestors were tough.
Absolutely.
They didn't do all whining and complaining and all of that. They actually put themselves, they believed in delayed gratification. They may have had to save for 20 years to buy freedom for one person. How many people could do that today when they can't even wait? They have to buy the purse they want right now and they can't even afford it. So, I mean, our ancestors were amazing, strong people.
Absolutely.
Because if they weren't, we wouldn't be here. And we wouldn't be here even though we still have challenges. But we still were able to educate ourselves. I saw that you two went to Howard University.
Yes, we
right
did.
down the street from me.
Did you all meet? Did you all meet at Howard?
We met the second day of our
freshman year.
Oh, that is sweet. This is awesome.
No, I'm going to bed. I have all the.
Yeah, that's my sweetie. That's my sweetie right there.
Oh, see,
That's
gold right there. This is
that
gold.
is. That is.
And that was 1962. So we've been
1962.
Yes.
We've been together for a while.
Now, what year did you all get married?
66.
Okay, so did you all finish college and then got married?
No,
Well,
we got married our senior year.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you all waited a little while, but you couldn't wait any longer.
Oh, please. All right.
That is so sweet. Well, we're getting close to the end of our interview. I want to make sure everybody has all the information they need.
Yes.
Order and read your book, Clandestine.
All right.
Yeah, it's
Great that you have a copy of it. How many pages is it?
the book itself is 375 plus epilogue and acknowledgments.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a solid story.
Yeah.
Historical fiction is actually my favorite genre. of all.
Listen, you'll love this because the story sweeps across portions of 3 centuries and 3 continents, plus the Caribbean. And it even has a look back to Moorish Spain. So we covered a lot of territory, literally. We're on Amazon. If you search for Clandestine, our last name is Keene, Keene. So if you look for Clandestine and Keene on Amazon, it'll pop right up. We're on Facebook, Clandestine the Book, or you can find me, Damani Keene, or Ife Keene on Facebook. And you can connect
also
that
our
way.
website is clandestine-life.com.
I'm actually about to put your website into the chat because there are a number of people who want this book.
Great, we love it. We love it. It's good to be with book lovers.
Definitely.
Yes. Someone asked, but I think you answered that. Bernita Francine asked, why haven't you reached out to the descendants who owned her? But you said you couldn't find them, or did you try to find them?
No.
I can't remember.
No, it wasn't that. I have to be honest, it's just not a priority.
Yeah, because in those kind of situations, it's kind of like, what do you say to them?
Right.
Well, I mean, I'm not really that much worried about that part of it.
We're not kin like that.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Right.
And that is also true. It's not as though Mariah had children that we know of that were the children also of the master. Her actual owner was a woman, Carrie McGavick. And the McGavick family is very, well known as a McGavick High School in Nashville. The father-in-law of her owner was once the mayor of Nashville. So it's a McGavick car dealership. I mean, they're well known in the area.
That's amazing.
But it's just not our priority. Our
But your priority was telling
her story.
Exactly.
So, I mean, and there's a lot in there. I mean, we always feel like when we try to summarize the book, we can't do it justice, because it's just, we really, in fact, my wife joked me all the time. I say, that should be in the book. She said, everything can't be in the book.
Yeah, that's one thing when you're writing, you have to edit yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can't put everything in there in terms of, you can't put everything. Let me see. Teresa asked, were there really 4 sets of twins? I'm not sure what that's relating to.
Oh, wow. That's somebody that's read something. Yes,
there
were.
were.
Yes, there were.
Oh, okay. Teresa's on it. Teresa is on it. She watches every week.
Yeah, this is so interesting, Teresa. Thank you. Yes, Mariah had 2 sets of twins with her first husband, who was Harvey Odie. And I've met descendants of Harvey Odie and Harvey's first wife. And then Mariah, so Phoebe, who was Harvey's first wife, had twins, and so did Mariah, have 2 sets of twins with Harvey.
Both of them had 8 children with him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So that's you, Teresa. So if you're
there you go, Teresa. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think Teresa has missed a week.
I don't think she has.
Plus, she attended the entire book festival, the virtual.
Oh my goodness.
She was online the whole weekend. Teresa is committed.
Well, ask Teresa to write us and tell us how she knows about the twins, please.
Okay, well, she's watching.
We're running out of time, but I really hope that you will go into the comments and respond, because there were so many comments that we haven't even had a chance to read yet.
Right.
I see the chat, but I don't see comments.
You have to go on Facebook on the video itself and look in the comment section.
So we can do that after we finish?
Yes.
Yes. Now, I don't know if you can reply. I'm not sure. That's because I think
you can type in a reply.
Yeah, you can type a comment in that you can do. Yes.
All right. And again, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for being here. This is a beautiful story, and I just hope people will support it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book story, and then also a beautiful love story.
Oh, we didn't say that.
Yeah.
College
Our book is actually a love story too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotta have a love story.
Yes. Yes. Romance is so important in life.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And be safe in Panama.
Thank you.
Okay,
Y'all
you
too.
do the same.
Take care.
Okay. All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience, too.
Thank you, everybody.
That was a very interesting.
It was. That 30
The
minutes.
whole thing. The
That
whole
30
thing.
minutes just flew by so fast.
It did. And now we have Dr. Gary Damon Jr. He's going to talk to us about leadership in corporate America. He does a lot of presentations and leadership seminars and consulting regarding leadership. And he is joining us. I'm not sure where in the United States or the world you're joining us from. You can tell us, how are you doing?
I am blessed. How are you this evening?
Doing great. Now, where are you
Good.
joining us from?
I am joining you from Memphis, Tennessee.
Memphis.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
City. I like that city.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a beautiful place. Beautiful
It
place.
is. I've been there many times.
Yeah, I spent
was one-
Christmas there a couple years ago.
Oh, really, really. What did you
Mhm.
enjoy while you were here?
Oh, well, of course we had to go to Beale Street, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
That's a
That's where
given.
everybody goes.
Mhm.
I did go over to Stax Records. I didn't get some tour of the museum because they were about to close, but just going to the place, and I got to go to the gift shop. I enjoyed that piece of it. We drove past Elvis' house.
I actually went
I'm
to
sure.
Elvis's house, but we didn't go in.
Ah, okay.
We didn't go in.
Well, at least you can say you did visit it. So
Yeah,
that's
we
what
did
you can
visit
say.
it. Mhm. Yeah, we did. But Tennessee is a very
The
beautiful
Lorraine
state.
Hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, the Lorraine Hotel. I did the
Oh,
tour.
yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Did the
I actually recently moved downtown Memphis from Cordova, and I actually live behind the Lorraine Motel. So each day when I walk by, I feel so blessed and fortunate to be a Black man in today's society, to walk by a place that has such history.
Yes.
I'm also right down the street from the I Am a Man monument, which
I
also
love
has
that monument.
great history. And
Mhm.
it's really a beautiful time in life to be in a space here, and here in Memphis, Tennessee in the South has truly opened my eyes. Coming from Buffalo, New York on the Lower East Side, it really has changed my perspective of what life is like on the other side of the world. So I'm blessed.
Awesome.
Yes, well, tell us about your book and some of the work that you're doing.
Absolutely. So today I am talking about everyday experiences to improve work and life, reflection strategies from a motivational leader. This book was purposed from an experience that I had several years ago as a professional, but over time I began to understand that these different types of experiences, these strategies continue to pop up as a leader. And as I continue to grow into my happy moments of a leader, I began to use these experiences to help me further point that life happens. And as life happens, so does these experiences. So over time, Gwen, I learned that these experiences help me grapple with life and the challenges of life to be the person I am today. So through this book, I was able to take people through a journey of life woes and life's ups and downs, but look at the moments that you can see where you've made it. And as you've made it, what were those reflective strategies? What were those moments that helped you get over? And it's all about what you look at, and it's all about how you get to that next moment.
Do you find that often people are so busy on their journey that they may feel like they haven't accomplished anything, and sometimes they have to look back to see what they've actually accomplished? Or somebody might tell them, I really admire you for doing such and such, and you're like, I don't think I did anything yet. Have you seen that?
Absolutely. That happens often, and you have to be very cautious to see where it comes from, because you want to take people for the person that they are, as they are a human, as they're kind, as they're respectful. You want to take them for that, but you also want to be cautious in how you respond. Be genuine about it and appreciate that accolade, because they do come, but you want to be very careful how they come. You want to take it with a blessed spirit. You want to remain humble, and you want to remain gentle and kind. And I think the book actually, Rhonda, takes you to a moment in time where you can think and ponder on that. And a moment that I think about relative to the book is head-on collisions. A lot of times in a workplace and in life, we get those moments where we're between two different odds and we're trying to understand, shall we go or shall we stay? Shall we speak? Shall we not? So when you get to those moments in that crossroad, you have to begin to understand, what do I do next? So I think the book does a great job with balancing that out, with giving you the opportunity to speak on behalf of yourself or to reserve it for a later time. Because I learned over this 15 years of life as a professional that my lived experience tells me to not always be so quick to speak. Slow down,
Yes.
take your time, be cautious, know when to move to act. So I think the book answers that question just a little bit, Rhonda. So you have to wait for the second or third book to come out for you to get the full answer.
Okay, I will do that. I'm gonna wait for that. Don't promise me something if it's not coming now.
Well, I do have a second book coming out in a couple of weeks, so I'm promising you a second book. I'm not sure about a volume 2 just yet about everyday experiences, but I can promise you a second book.
Wow. Okay, well, what's the second book called?
So the second book is Everyday Experiences Workforce Essentials Guide. This is I call it a deconstructed handbook for the workplace. This book is a way that it helps everyday individuals that are in entry level, individuals that recently graduated high school or college. We use everyday language, but give you the skill set to help you to get the skills to get on a job. So we take you through decision making, problem solving, essential skills. We give you the toolkit that you need to be successful on a job. A lot of times employers are looking at, Rhonda, your soft skills. Are you arriving to work on time? Are your pants up? Do you have on a proper uniform? Did you ensure that you said yes sir, no ma'am? Did you answer the right question? So the Everyday Experiences Workforce Essentials Guide ultimately takes you through that journey of how best to behave. So that deconstructed handbook gives you the right now tools to be a right now global workforce individual so that you can be successful.
Wonderful.
Yeah, my daughter works in corporate America. She's just getting her career started. And something that I impress upon her, there are a couple of things. One is pick your battles.
Absolutely.
Not every situation is something that you need to take a stand on, because sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes it can escalate.
Absolutely.
And you have to really think through your strategy for how to address whatever the situation is.
I've also found, because I experienced this a lot when I was in the military. When I spoke up, sometimes I would be the only person who spoke up, and I was labeled as difficult or argumentative because I spoke up. Even though I wasn't trying to be argumentative, I just didn't subscribe to the group thing.
Right.
And so I often, and I had my commander tell me, he was a white male. He told me, well, Rhonda, sometimes you have to pick your battles. Figure out what it's worth fighting for and what's worth just standing back. So that way people don't think of you as being argumentative.
So I
And
can
then
think
you don't
about
want to burn your bridges either. I mean, some bridges can be burned, but you need to acknowledge that you're burning a bridge. You need to realize that before you take this step.
Absolutely.
This step could probably burn this bridge. And are you willing, is that a bridge you need to go back across later on? You have to just think about those things.
I've always admired the people who had a talent for, they didn't argue the point, so to speak, but they would say something, okay, well, using your line of thinking, if we do it this way, that means we're going to have to meet 5 times a day, and we're going to have to do this. Is that what you're looking for? And then the person's like, no, that's not what I wanted. So they knew how to argue the point without
Absolutely.
And
so I think
that's a skill I didn't learn.
Yeah, but I think that's what happens in the book. It takes you through those opportunities, those awkward moments where you're not sure what to say or how to say it. It takes you there. I think of walking well and walking with the truth in your pocket as 2 lived experiences that the book talks about that answers the conversation that just you and Gwen were speaking of, where it talks about how to manage that in the workplace. Should you actually say something? And if you do, what will the next steps be? Or if you do say something, what will happen in the event that you're in a minority? And in the book, it actually provides different confessions where I talk about some of those moments where I felt as if I was on an island by myself, or I felt as if I did say something that I shouldn't have said, but I was grateful that I did, because I later realized that was the best thing that happened. And I think that the book gives us the opportunity to slow down, to take a moment, and then move to act. So I think that as we go through life and those ebbs and flows, it gives you that opportunity to know what to do and how to do it. And the beautiful thing with the book is it's more of a guide. It gives you an opportunity to take your own answers down and look at your own perspective and choose where you feel you best need to go next.
You have a comment here from Bernita Francine. She said, do you want to be right or do you want to be understood? I think that's a very poignant point.
And that absolutely is a great point. And I choose to be in both. I do like to be right and understood. Being right doesn't necessarily mean that you have the right answer, but being right means that you're right in the sight of God. I am a God-fearing man. I do believe in righteous living, and I try to live the ideal way as best as I could, as God would see fit. And I think that when you have those informed intentions and when people see your genuine heart, they will give you the opportunity to mend those wrongs and turn those rights. And you want to make sure that you're in the good and in the know with all people.
Yeah, another thing about dealing with the things in corporate type situations is talking to the right person.
Oh, yes.
You know, it's better to take I always believe in going up. I mean, dealing with going down or at your same level is not, or sometimes your direct manager is not the person you need to talk to. Sometimes it is, but sometimes you need to go a level up, or maybe even another level up. And you have to be able to speak with people at all those different levels, respectfully, but sometimes it takes that to get something done.
Sometimes you may not be the person to give the answer. When I did my dissertation, was on the perception of the angry Black woman syndrome and how it affects African-American female leaders. And one of the people who I interviewed mentioned the different people that we kind of have to have on our team, so to speak. You need to have that mentor. You need to have the coach. You need to have that sponsor, that person that's going to speak up for you when you're not in the room. That person who maybe is in that inner circle who you can talk to, and that person can kind of go to bat for you. So maybe you're not the person to say this is how it should be done, but that sponsor can be that person who can go to bat for you. And then you're still getting what you need to get done, but you're not thought of as argumentative because somebody who's in that circle is going to bat for you.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And when you talk about corporate America, no matter where it is you're working, you're still dealing with the same kind of people. You have to begin to identify who those people are and which way they're coming at you and learn how best to manage them. I remember reading an article years ago. It was called Who's Got the Monkey? And once you realize all of those different types of problems and those stressors and those issues that keep coming at you, when you identify which problem and stressor or monkey, where it comes from, you can then put it in its right place. And when you talk about all of these different things and these bubbles and these balls, guess what happens? They grow bigger and they begin to swell. And I think in the book, Curveballs is something that it came at me multiple ways, but I was able to put it into the right perspective. And I think about what my mother told me to be you and forget them. Don't worry about what happens and what people are saying around you, and not to let all of those other things come at you, but you just focus on what you're supposed to do and be okay. And I think, Dr. Rhonda, when you talk about the angry Black woman syndrome, there's the same thing when it comes to a Black man. When I raise my voice a little much, or if I'm using my hand and I'm speaking emotionally, I'm angry or I'm being combative. So I understand your plight and what you're speaking of. And I think that it's really important to have those mentors, those coaches and sponsors to speak on your behalf so that they can begin to help you manage those types of things as you are in front of those people. But I really do believe that those are the things that people see, but they don't see those that are within you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been self-employed for many years. Many years. I only was in corporate very briefly, right when I
Okay.
was right out of college, a couple of jobs I had, and after that it was self-employment.
But when you've
But
done everything, your life is so fulfilling.
I have, but the stuff that
I
I've
agree.
experienced in corporate, even those years ago, it's the same. When I talk to my
Yes.
daughter, those dynamics, they're the same. And but a lot of what I've learned as a self-employed person is dealing with clients, because my clients come in all colors,
Yes.
and sometimes dealing with adversaries as a self-employed person, like someone who's challenging you in a different way. You have to really be you can't be scared, I can tell you that. You have to be
Right.
you have to be tough, and you have to really let people know, you have to know your rights, you have to know your legal rights. Yeah, I mean, because some people try to intimidate you, especially lawyers. I hope I don't know if you're a lawyer, but lawyers,
No, I'm not.
they try to intimidate people. My thing is, okay, I'm not scared of you just because you're a lawyer, so what?
So
I
then,
know my rights. I know the
Ms. Gwen,
law.
let me ask you this: if you
Okay.
were to, have you read the book yet?
No, I haven't read the book
Oh,
yet.
well, I would love for you to take a look at it, because I think Stephanie's of the world will speak to what you're talking about, because I'm also self-employed, and it is truly one of the best experience in the world. And you really are fulfilled, and you do work with a lot of clients. And I think when you understand those clients and their situations, you begin to understand how best to manage them, because I've only been self-employed less than a year, and I truly understand how you can get burnt out real quickly.
Well,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
self-employed and fully employed, and I'm burnt out all the time.
So look, Dr. Rhonda, there's as you're saying, there's something for everybody in the book. Moments of Rest. It'll talk to you.
Oh, I'm looking
That's
forward to
it.
I'm getting that one, and I'm getting your second one, and I'm speaking your third one into existence.
Speak to me. Speak to me. So you have 3 jobs. So you're full-time in the Army. You have
No,
a
no, no.
full-time.
I'm retired.
Oh,
I'm retired from the Army.
okay, okay.
But I work for the federal government. I'm a public
Wow,
affairs
okay.
for the federal government.
Okay.
And I have a publicity and literary services company.
My goodness, my
Yeah, and
goodness.
she's a literary correspondent for the National Black Book Festival.
Yes. And I'm a talk show host.
On this show.
Woo! When do you have time to sleep? Miss Gwen, what about you? What kind of work are you into?
I'm an author,
Okay.
and I help authors promote and market their books.
Wow.
So I might be dealing with 20 or 30 clients at any given time at one time. I mean, I deal with clients that are small with one book, and I deal with clients who need more services, need me to do marketing materials for them. I've done book tour, book signings for people. So, I mean, I tell people I have had about 5 lives. So I've been a new magazine editor, newspaper columnist. When we first started Kush City, it was retails. I was doing more retailing. So I learned how to do inventory. I mean, I learned all this
So
stuff on the
you've done
fly.
quite a bit.
Back in the early 2000s, if you got an email from Kush City saying that they wanted your book, you're like, I made it. Yeah.
Well, what about in
Kush City is 21 years old, so we've seen the internet, we've seen this whole thing evolve and completely change. I mean, it has. And if you don't stay on top of the technology and what's happening, you will be left behind.
Absolutely.
Really stay on top. But I have been self-employed. I've been self-employed 30 plus years. I haven't had an employer. And so I've hired many people. I will never, ever, 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 ever hire anybody again. Never, never, never. Now, when you first starting out, I remember when I was starting out with my company, I wanted to have employees, and I wanted, all this stuff, and growing. And what I found over the years is I made more money without those employees and with zero headaches. So, because for me, unless you really like get a huge investment, or where you have have a lot of employees, where you have a lot of people who are between you and the employees. You have some managers in between,
Mm-hmm.
where you're not having to deal with every individual situation. Because I think the most employees I ever had was maybe 10. And but I found, it's just dealing with people and their personalities and situations, and they're not
Right.
dependable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I've always operated from a level of excellence,
Yeah.
and not
Well, I
everybody
feel the same
has
way.
that.
I mean, when I left the army, I said, I was like, okay, I don't want to work with soldiers again, because it's hard when you're a supervisor and you're trying to do the right thing for people, and no matter
Mm-hmm.
what you're doing, there are going to be people who don't appreciate it and who will try to interpret
Mm-hmm.
your actions as something that they're totally not. And then there are some people, like I said, who accuse me, even though I was fighting for my soldiers, they accused me of being combative. And then the
Mm-hmm.
main people I was fighting for often would turn on me. So I was like, I don't want to go through this anymore. So right now I have a pretty high ranking position, so to speak, in
Mm-hmm.
my federal job. But I'm like, I don't know if I ever want to go back
Absolutely.
to that thing I went through in the army. And I think the people I work with now are very good people. I don't think that I would have those issues, but that is
Mm-hmm.
always going to be in the back of your mind. So I mean, it's something that
Yes.
you have to prepare yourself for. And that really,
Absolutely.
as I was doing my research, there were women who said they didn't want to go through that, and so they left corporate America because they were disillusioned. I didn't want to leave. I mean, I know I'm working for the federal government, but my ranking in with the federal government is basically corporate America.
Okay. So then I
So
think about when you both speak on behalf of yourself as entrepreneurs and working in corporate America, there's a lot of people that work in corporate America that may work for nonprofits and small organizations that would benefit tremendously from everyday experiences, because we take a look at all of that from different vantage points. I think about the struggling single mom like my sister. I speak about her in a book, and she doesn't know that because I'm sure she hasn't read that far into it. Or I speak about my mentor, as you talk about, Dr. Rhonda. My mentor is that trusted advisor that I look to help me manage myself when it comes to those moments when I do want to get angry and struggle through that storm, but I don't want to because I want to be successful. So I think of all of those places that have helped me over time. And I think ultimately that this book, Everyday Experiences, has truly helped me, and almost as many people that has read it so far. I've received comments often from people telling me, hey, thanks so much for saying that in the book, because it helped me last week in a meeting that I had. Or someone that just started a brand new job during a pandemic that was struggling, to think that no one would help them, but the book helped them through their training because they were able to take a moment and jot down some notes. So these moments that you each talk about in your personal and professional pursuits is truly tremendous. And I get it because I sit on both sides as a newly installed president of Pressure Point Consulting, but also as someone that has 15 years of dedicated experience working in nonprofits and small local grassroots agencies. So I appreciate all of the things that we've done over time, because all of the things that we do today has helped benefit the greater good of the people that support us.
Well, as a relatively new entrepreneur, being on your
Yes.
own, I remember how exciting that was. Just when I first started my very first business, and I had somebody invest in my business. So I had
Oh,
investors a couple of
beautiful.
different times. So, and it was a stranger. It was a white man. It was a stranger, and he just saw I have always been a hard worker and believed in excellence. People see that. I mean, I don't care who. People are watching you. That's what,
yes,
if I had to tell young people anything,
Hmm.
always perform at your best. People are watching you.
right.
You don't know they're
They
Absolutely.
watching
may
you,
not
but they are
comment.
watching
They
you.
may not comment. They may not tell you they're
Right,
watching, but they're going
right,
to come when you need them most. They're gonna like, I've been watching you for less than so years. I know what you're doing. I like what you're doing, and I
Hmm.
want to sow into your business. You never know
right.
what's going to happen, so you can't.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you have to be just have integrity. That's the other thing. Have integrity. And but a couple of things I want to let you know as a business owner, two things that happened to me. Um, sometimes the employees will try to steal your clients. So if you have people and you don't have a non-compete, that is very important, because we had somebody try to do that. I mean, just really just steal our clients and start her own business doing the same thing that we were doing. But, you know, she did something stupid. She put all her stuff that she was doing on the business computer, on the computer.
Wow.
So like, we don't look at our computers. I guess that's what she thought. So, and then we actually had people steal from us. I mean, steal products, steal inventory. We've had that too. So you have to watch your employees. And if you don't have a non-compete with especially your key people who are dealing with clients, you definitely need to have non-competes. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You never want to put yourself in a predicament where you have to work with someone where you even have to think about something so drastic and negative. Those welcome partners are people that you want to work with that you already trust beforehand. So I hope that never happens to me. I appreciate and value your feedback, and thank you for sharing that. And
yeah, you never know. You don't know
something.
people. I mean, this was a person who you would never thought. In fact, this was a person who went to church with us and was recommended by someone at church.
People you feel trust.
So I mean, we just never. So don't trust anybody. I mean, and that might seem drastic, but you just have to look at it. It's just business. Business is business. So you can't just trust people based on anything other than just, you have to take care of business. That's all.
Well, we only have a few minutes left. So if you can just remind everybody, because a couple of people have asked if you can remind them of the name of the book, where they can find it. And then if we have a minute or two, maybe you can talk about how people have responded to the book so far.
So I can do all of that in about 1 minute. So Pressure Point Consulting is a leading consulting boutique firm that works with small businesses, local nonprofits, and entrepreneurs. We work with grant writing, workforce training, as well as emerging and executive leadership coaching. You can reach out to me at Dr. Damon Jr. at pressurepointconsulting.com or 901-570-2249. My newly recently published book, Everyday Experiences to Improve Work and Life, Reflection Strategies from a Motivational Leader, can be found on pressurepoint.consulting, or you can DM me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. The book, I believe, will be beneficial to help you. It will move you to act. Dr. Rhonda, you speak to what have people said. People have spoken to me directly and shared that the book has helped them in tough situations with managers, help them deal with one of their subordinates, with a colleague, with their partner, with their peer, individuals that are retired that have worked on their own. So I've had people from many walks of life that have spoken. You can check out Amazon. We've had a couple of reviews. I've also shared some on my LinkedIn and Facebook. I do want to share once again, you can check out pressurepoint.consulting. And also we're in the process now selling our new U book box. The new U box include our book, a calendar, as well as a white erase board to help you jot down your goals as well as your strategies as you move into 2021. Our tagline for 2021 for the new U box is 2021 is yours to discover. Keep moving forward with all that is good. So I said a lot in 2 minutes. I time myself, Dr. Rhonda, and I am at 7:59. But guess what? I made it.
Okay, you brought on something at the very end, and we don't. The new U box, is that like, everybody's doing boxes now, where every so often you get a box in the mail with some really exciting things in it. So is that similar?
No, it's
how
not.
often does your box?
It's a one-time thing, but
box. Okay.
Each season we're going to have a different product. So this particular season we have Gearing You Up for 2021. We have a calendar for you to review the dates of every day throughout 2021, as well as the white erase board. Let me pull it out to show you really quickly.
Okay.
This particular, hold on. The box is secure because we want to make sure when it's shipped to the right person, they can get all of the content. So this is the calendar right here. It has a visualization of one of the characters. This is Dr. Grant. The calendar can be placed inside of your cubicle or inside of your home office. And then also we have the white erase board. Now the white erase board is to help you with your strategies, with your goals, to help you jot down those things that you want to best prepare for. So hold on one second. These are custom made boxes. All right, so this is the white erase board. Again, it's a direct representation of Dr. Grant. It comes with a marker, bookmark, a sticker, a book, and a calendar, and it includes shipping for $35. So you get a lot for $35. The point is not to make a profit, but it's to produce good people. We want you to be good at what you do, and that's why we believe that the book Everyday Experiences in the new U box is going to benefit somebody.
Okay, it's also branding. So
yeah, it is branding. Why not?
Having said that, Dr. Gary, thank you for coming
Absolutely,
on.
thank you.
And we enjoyed having you. And thank you for sharing the everyday experiences that people can deal with and learn about through reading your book.
Absolutely.
And all the success to you in the rest of this year and in 2021.
Thank you so much. Pleasure meeting you, Mo. Bye, everyone.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Okay.
interview.
It was. So our next guest, we're moving right along on time. We have a children's author, Tymeka Coney. Let's see.
Yeah, I Don't Like Racism.
Yes, the name of her book is I Don't Like Racism. And it's a children's book, and she's going to tell us all about.
There's her face.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, are you on mute?
I don't see a mute on her.
She's wearing a t-shirt.
I don't see she's muted, but she hasn't said anything yet. Can you hear us, Tymeka?
I don't know if she can hear us. Okay.
Okay. Is it a time delay? Is there
No, she just needs to take it off of mute, I think.
Well, okay. Yeah, let me. Okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Hear me?
Yes. Yes. Now I need you to turn if you're watching this on another device, you need to turn the volume all the way down or mute it.
I don't know if she can hear
Okay.
Okay. Because we're getting.
I don't know if you have Facebook playing, you might need to turn Facebook down or turn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, because there's a 20-second delay.
Yes.
On the Zoom and the Facebook. So, and it, you can hear the echo. Okay, so I see you have t-shirts and everything too, and you have the book cover in the background.
Yeah.
And your t-shirt.
I
wore mine today.
I'm just wearing black.
So Tymeka, your book is called I Don't Like Racism. And what led you to write the book? Is for what age group is it for?
I would say mainly for like starting from pre-K, kindergarten, all the way to about teenagers actually. But I know when you say kids books, probably like pre-K to 12. But because it has a story about the young lady who's telling the story, her older cousin, I even want teenagers to read it. So I hope that answers your question.
Well, actually, I like the fact that you want teenagers to read it because my sorority actually did a anti-bullying workshop, and the book that they gave the kids seemed like it was a younger person's book, but the teenagers were into it because they learned something from it as well. So I like the fact that you're doing it that way.
Thank you.
Well, that's good information too, because a lot of times teenagers will reject things they think are for younger kids. They say, I'm not a kid. Teenagers think they're not kids. But that's what they'll say. I do remember that very distinctly. And your book just came out in October, so it's brand new.
Yes, I did a lot of pre-sales in October, and then it actually launched on Kindle ebook, and now it's paperback. It actually launched after the pre-orders were in October, it launched November 1st on Kindle ebook. And then also November 28th, the paperback became available. And I feel so blessed because I was actually on the Kindle bestsellers list for children's literature. So
Oh,
I
good
was
for
so
you.
happy. I was
Yeah.
so happy to see that. And it's only been out like a month, literally.
Well, the
Yeah.
topic is timely, and timing is everything when it comes to product releases, and that's books or any kind of product. Some
Absolutely.
people just their timing was right on whatever they were doing, you know. So
Yeah.
so tell us the storyline about the book. What's the story about?
So basically, it's told through the eyes of a young girl, young African-American girl. Her name is Delilah, and she goes on a journey. First, she sees her cousin, and she witnesses him experiencing police brutality. And something turns on in her mind, and so she prays about it. Then she goes to her mom and asks her mom, like, about racism. Then she talks to her history teacher. So she goes on a journey to find out, what is this racism all about? Why does it exist? And then she decides, you know what? Despite the color of my skin, I'm still going to love my multicultural friends. I'm still going to choose to love, and I still can dream to be whatever I dream to be, despite the color of my skin, once she finds out what racism is. And it was inspired actually from the whole George Floyd Black Lives Matter movement. I literally wrote this book in July, and it was released in November, actually. So I was praying to God. I said, you know what? I didn't go protest, but I want to do something towards this movement of Black Lives Matter. And then there was a quote from his daughter who said, "My daddy changed the world." His 6-year-old daughter, George Floyd. And that's when I realized that this affects kids. And this is a conversation that we should be talking about starting as early as 6 years old. And so that's what the book is about. And it's really a positive movement towards racism. I'm not, saying, it's against any race. I'm really charging people to have a better understanding and to love each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's
Well, it's interesting that you say that. You make that point about kids because if you remember during the time of the protest, there was a very powerful video of a little girl marching down the street shouting, "No justice, no peace." It was serious with it too. So yeah, this is affecting kids, and we're at a point right now in our history where we can't really shield. When I was growing up, my grandmother would say, "You're too young to know about this," or go in the other room while we talk about this. But kids are being faced with these things, and we can no longer do that. We have to be a little bit more upfront with what's going on because they're being affected by this every day.
And I really think it starts when we're young. Whatever our environment is in the home, that's kind of what charges us to love people or to look at people differently. And one of my missions in this book is to have people to say, whether I'm a woman or a young girl or if I'm Black, no matter what, I can dream. I can be whatever I want to be. Yes. And it has nothing to do with my skin. Yes. And I even have the quote on the back of the book from Dr. Martin Luther King. And it says, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character." That's really what it's all about.
We're still working towards that dream.
Yes.
And every generation deals with it differently, but there are flashpoints. Every generation has these racial flashpoints. It manifests itself somewhat differently, but somewhat the same. And each generation, the young people tend to be on the front lines of a lot of things because of school. A lot of things happen in school. And just because they have more energy and more passion and more idealism, to challenge the system. Whereas, and this is every generation, whereas the parents have to be a little bit more measured because in some instances they have to worry about their jobs and they have to be able to feed their families. So a lot of times younger people, they're not the breadwinners of the family.
Right, right.
So they don't have as much to lose, which gives them more freedom to challenge the system.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, that happens it happened for me. And so some things I learned after I was an adult, I mean, years later, because my father was actively involved in the civil rights movement. And I was an adult well into my adult years before I found out that the Klan had killed a possum or some animal and left it on our doorstep.
Oh,
But we didn't know, the kids didn't know, me and my brother's siblings didn't know because my parents didn't tell us about that. But they did that, to frighten him, to scare him into not participating in civil rights.
Wow.
It didn't.
So what
But
type of feedback have you gotten from kids who have read the book so far?
they seem to like it. They enjoy the character. They feel like they identify with Delilah, the lead character, and they really like the images. And I wanted to just kind of, if I could show you a few images. That's funny you mentioned the young girl protesting, because I actually have
okay.
I love it. Yes.
Mhm.
And she's masked up. Yes.
Yeah, she's wearing her mask. So, present day. I even have, this is her talking to her mom and her history teacher there. So I think they really identify with the young lady. And a lot of the parents have really enjoyed it. This one is my favorite. This
Okay.
picture right here is my favorite because it has all the different races of kids. And
Yes.
it just says, I love everyone no matter their race. We're all different, but we can all still embrace.
Beautiful.
Then did you write, is your book a rhyming book?
It is. I'm actually I'm actually a poet. And I think
Okay.
that's kind of what got me to probably have the rhyming in the book. My first book was a book of poetry, and I have it here. It's Words Unspoken, Volume 1. So this is my second book.
Okay.
But I really, really love writing the children's book more than the poetry book, actually. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Well, you have a
Mhm.
comment here. Teresa Russell said that she liked how you marketed the book. I think you had some video presentations.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I do have some video presentations on YouTube. And, I say I don't like racism. It's not just a book, it's a movement. Because I do have T-shirts, masks, and, let me say this too. Another one of the things that inspired me is I experienced police brutality firsthand. So I feel like the fact that I'm not a statistic, that I'm still here to talk about it, that's also something that I should be, I'm called to do now, is to speak up against police brutality and racism because I experienced it. And I don't believe that God left me here to not speak about it and to not stand up for it.
Right.
Wow.
I'm sure that had to be a horrific event.
You know what, Teresa, I'm gonna have to give Teresa kudos because I think when she sees the lineup, she goes out and
Yeah, she goes and
researches.
researches them.
She researches each person's book in advance. So when she's on the show, in the comments, she's read the books or she's researched each person that comes on. And kudos to you, Teresa. If you didn't already have a T-shirt, I would send you one, but I have to think of something else, Teresa, to send you.
Yeah.
Because you already have a T-shirt.
Now,
She is dedicated.
Janet Lanza said that you are right on point, Tymeka. She's excited to get her copy and read it.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Thank you.
And now, you said you have videos is it on YouTube? What are the videos about? What are in the video?
They're just basically like book trailers that tell you about the book, and it goes into some of the illustrations that you see in the book. It shares some of the illustrations, and one of the videos I actually have the animated character Delilah talking, so she's telling the story in the video. That's probably what Teresa is speaking to. Yeah.
So who did your illustrations for you? How did your illustrator?
A young lady named Nita Saeed, and she's actually overseas.
Oh,
And
okay.
so that was really interesting working with her. I did interview a lot of different illustrators, but once I told her the vision and she captured, this was the first photo, I kind of knew, okay, she's the one. But I will say that, you know, I don't know if you guys had this experience working with illustrators or not, but there was a lot of back and forth that I had to go through. And
it's
one of them,
difficult to find an illustrator because you need that illustrator, even though they may be a good artist, they have to match your vision for your book.
that's it right there.
You need your characters to look a certain way, and you know, maybe you don't want them too cartoony, or maybe you don't want them too realistic. You have to be able to bring both of those visions together.
And that's really what it was, Rhonda. You were right on, because one of the illustrations I can show you here is when I said we come from kings and queens, and she had like the Elizabethan, you know, the kings and
The
queens,
British,
yeah. And you know, I had to tell her, like, I'm talking about the African kings and queens. That's what I'm speaking to. And it's nothing against the British kings and queens, but for this story, I wanted the African kings and queens. And so it was stuff like that. Kente cloth, you know, she wasn't really aware of that. So it was a lot of
It
cultural
probably
things.
depends on the culture of the person, because this person,
Right.
when she thinks of kings and queens, that's what she's thinking of. An African American person thinks of kings and queens, and they may think of Africa. A British person may think of Queen Elizabeth.
Right.
yeah.
And there's nothing against that at all. But I was just, you know, so those
No,
were the
it's
only.
just what's in somebody's mind. Now, I have a children's book series,
Okay.
and it's called Kids Biz. And I got my illustrator from 5RR, and
Okay.
he's in Pakistan.
Okay. Did you have
So,
challenges?
well, you know, I try to eliminate all challenges. So
Okay.
what I do is with him, I send him a picture of what I want. So like, you know, when I introduce a new character, like I introduce the kid's mom, one of the kids' moms that wasn't on in the book before, I go online, find an image of the kind of person I want her to look like. I send him the picture. With the kids' clothes, I go on Nordstrom Rack, which is my favorite online shopping place. I go on there in the kids section. I pick out the outfits. I did do like a kente cloth outfit on my female character. I found the kente cloth and I, you know, picture of a dress similar. And so I don't leave anything to his imagination.
Okay.
I just need his skills,
That's it.
you know.
Yeah.
I had
But
the same thing when I was trying to get t-shirts designed. I had to send that design back so many times. Like, this is not what I want these people to look like on my t-shirt. You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
people are the hardest part, because you have to get the features, and you don't want you don't want Caucasian characters with brown skin and not have, you know, African American features. So I send him I go online and find a person. I don't know the person I find. I type in, I Google Black woman in her 20s with natural hair.
Right.
And I find some pictures, and I find the one that's like what I want, and that's what I send him. And he's good at duplicating.
Well, it's all
So
about communication, and it seems like your communication was on point, Tymeka, with your narrator.
the illustrator, you mean?
The illustrator?
Yeah, I'm sorry, not your narrator, your illustrator. What am I thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? Because this was my first children's book, I think it was a learning lesson for me. It was a learning curve for both of us. But I believe I am a visionary. Like, I see things in my head when I wrote the story. Like, I already saw the story in my head. And like you said, Rhonda, and it was very important, Gwen, to be specific about what my vision was with the characters. And because I knew the story already, a lot of times I would also have to share with her, I want this emotion, because I want this emotion to tell the story. And Though, like I said, those were the only issues that I had. Is just sometimes I will be like, no, she's not crying, or she doesn't look like she's upset,
Right.
or it's important. Like even this photo, there's a little girl and she's playing with her, but it's a Caucasian little girl and black. So that's it's important to show these type of characters.
It's
But
important
I've learned
together, playing together without conflict. They can actually
right.
play together and be great friends.
Yeah. And so, but when you hear the story that I wrote to it, it says, we can play together like brothers and sisters in unity. You don't have to look like me, so it was important for us to show that. And like I said, I had all the words, but sometimes she didn't get like what I was trying to portray. But we got through it. And like I said, I learned just to be more specific. And like Gwen was saying, pull out the exact pictures. But even there was one where I talked about slavery, and she did a picture of my slave, and I wanted him to look a little more rugged. But it's okay. We still get the vision that he's a slave. So
Well, you also did a great job, not just communicating with your illustrator, but promoting the book, getting the book out there.
Yeah, it's like Gwen was saying too, the subject matter of racism is very important. And I thought it was important now. And I actually was working on another book, but in my prayer and meditation, God was saying, do this one. And so I'm hoping that, for Black History Month, that I can get it into schools and just really keep the movement and the conversation is going. And like Gwen also said, I think racism has happened. It goes back to probably 1619. I mean,
well, we're in 400 and something years now.
Yeah, but
every generation has, in every generation, there's some kind of racial flashpoint. In the 60s, there was something, and then it'll die down. Then it's like 20 years will pass, and then it'll really peak and raise itself up again. Right. Then it'll die down. So it repeats itself. It never goes away, but it is not as in your face all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of hides, it's like camouflaged for a while, and then something will happen to make it just in your face. And so this
I think
is
2020 was like that. I really think 2020 was the year where it just.
Well, everything seems to have happened in 2020.
Everybody got set up in 2020.
Yeah. And I'm hoping for a better 2021.
Yes. You know what? This time last year, there is no way anybody, if you had described 2020 like a year ago, nobody would have believed it. Right. This has really been unbelievable, but it's had its good points too, because even though we don't have a lot of human contact like we have had in the past, we still have contact. I mean, Zoom has really revolutionized.
Right. It's helped us to rethink the way we do things. And it's actually added to some people's business model. I'm not going to say that it's been great for everybody. I mean, for some people, it has adversely affected them. But it's been great for some people's business models to help them to expand and just rethink the way they do things.
It has.
Yes, definitely. And I'm so appreciative of what you ladies are doing with this Black Authors Matters TV, because we do matter. And I just think about all of the authors that inspire me, like the Maya Angelos and the.
You hit your mute.
You hit your mute button.
I'm sorry. But all of the our ancestors and the griots before us, like what would we have, where would we be if we didn't have those books and those storytellers?
Tymeka, somebody wants to know where you're from.
I'm from Dallas, Texas. I am a Southern girl, but I now reside in Los Angeles. But Dallas, Texas.
Okay. And Bernita Francine said she said she experienced racism in the second grade at a predominantly white parochial school.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens in school. If you go to, well, if you go to a Black school, you don't experience racism, not Black-white racism. You experience other things sometimes. But
Right.
when you're a Black person who goes to a predominantly white school, you experience direct racism, and it's not any better than it was when I was. I mean, it has improved. My daughter went to a middle school that was almost all white. The things she was dealing with were the same things that I had to deal with when I was a kid, and I just found that to be unbelievable that it really hadn't changed at all. I mean, the dismissiveness and some of the attitudes towards Black people, especially among wealthy white kids. When you're in private school, your peers are your wealthier white kids, and they are more racist than just your average everyday white person, because they haven't really had much interaction with Black people. Really very little. When I was young, the wealthy white people I knew, their maids were Black, but now the maids are Hispanic. So they don't have interaction with Black people. And if they do, it's on the surface, and it's not where they really get to know them as people. They don't see them as equals. So I don't like racism either. And no one should. And that's a succinct way of putting it in a child's verbiage.
Now, we
Yeah.
only have a few minutes left. So if you can maybe talk a little bit about where people can find your book, and then maybe tell us what you're planning next.
Okay. I am just going to continue to speak and, like I said, get this book into schools, because my main mission is for all kids, all races, to know that they have value despite their race or their gender. So that's my mission with the book. I've been on a virtual book tour for about since October, and I have one more engagement this Sunday that ends out the year. And you can keep in touch with me and get autographed copies of the books. You can get the I Don't Like Racism mask. You can get the t-shirts in all assorted colors on my website, which is just my first name and last name, TYMEKACONEY.com, and keep up with me and all the things that I'll be doing. And then you can also go to Amazon and you can get the book Kindle ebook. You can get it paperback. And then I also have the audiobook in hardcovers coming soon, waiting on those. And I think it's a great Christmas gift. And I say it's great for teachers, aunties, grandmothers, parents, everybody. And then I'll just continue to write. I'm also a playwright, a screenwriter. So I'm a creative. I just love it. I love all facets.
Well, we're gonna have to talk, girl. Is I'm a playwright too.
Yes. Or where are you located?
Oh, I'm in Maryland.
Maryland. Okay. I need to travel to the East Coast too. I definitely will be in Houston, Texas. I think that's where you are, right, Gwen?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I hopefully I can be a part of the festival next year in October.
And we're hoping for in person. We'll see. If not, it'll be 2022 for sure.
Wear your mask, people. Wear your mask.
Yeah, we're hoping. Yeah. If enough people get vaccinated and enough people wear masks and social distancing, we should be able to do. I'm hoping like by the time it gets warm, April, when people can get out again. Because once the cold weather hit and people had to be indoors, that's when it was going to spike anyway. So, but anyway, we are at the 8:30 mark, and we just really appreciate you. I don't like racism either, and I really like your book though, and hope people support it and give
you.
it as a Christmas gift for
A great
people that you
Christmas.
said, children, teachers, parents, for everyone.
Everybody.
And I love your braids. I forgot what they're called, but I love those.
Oh, dreads. Yeah. Faux locks.
Faux locks. Okay, that's really pretty,
Thank you.
really nice.
Thank you.
Tight.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Well,
All
thank
right.
you so much, Tymeka, and happy holidays to you and
Yeah.
happy New Year.
Thank you
See
so
you
much.
soon. And I'm gonna spread the word about the National Black Book Festival. So thank you
Okay.
for what you guys are doing.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. And what now we have our final guest. We had a change, a programming change. And our final guest is Kevin Wayne Johnson, and we're going to be bringing him on. Kevin is an author. He's I don't know if he's still pastoring, but he's an ordained minister, and he was pastoring for many years. He does leadership training, a lot of it for the federal government, and he has his recent book is about leadership within the church primarily, but it could relate to leadership anywhere. And we just welcome Kevin Wayne Johnson. Now,
Well,
do you use your title Reverend or
Kevin is fine.
Kevin is fine? Okay.
Well, I'm just jealous of that wall. You made my award wall look bad. I want some more awards to put on the wall.
My bad.
Yeah, I need to do my broadcast from my wall where I have all of my stuff
That's
too.
what I'm saying.
I
I'm
have
going to
all of
figure
my
out all my awards.
magazine covers and articles and all my stuff. I have it at the office, but I do the show from home. But I'm gonna figure out, maybe I can do that as my virtual.
There you go. I do the show from my studio in the basement, but my office where I actually work during the day has all my awards in it, so y'all will never see it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If I could get a picture and create a virtual, but I really want to have Black Authors Matter TV on the virtual for this. So anyway, Kevin, welcome to Black Authors Matter TV.
Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we have talked many times over the years, and I've done work for you, and but I don't think we've ever met. Have we ever met?
I honestly don't know. I've been at it for a while. You've been at it for a while.
Yeah.
I bet you our paths have probably crossed at some point.
At some point.
I'm sure it has. I'm sure.
Are you in Virginia? Are you in Virginia?
I'm in Maryland.
You're in Maryland. Okay.
Well,
Well,
you're in Maryland.
Ron is in Maryland now.
What
Yep,
part of
I'm
Maryland?
in Howard County, just outside of Columbia.
Oh, okay. Well, you're right down the street. I'm in Silver Spring.
Okay, hello, neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
Small
Well,
world.
tell us about your latest book. I know you've won some awards with it, and you've gone all over speaking about it, leadership. Is it With the Servant's Heart?
Yep, here we go.
Okay. Yes. So what made you talk about it? Because most of the time when people think about leadership, they don't really think about servants, although ministry is supposed to be performed in that vein.
Absolutely.
And my pastor actually does look at it as a servant, and the deacons are taught that too, that they are servants, not, celebrities.
Right,
So,
right.
what made you choose that topic?
Well, I because I lived it, starting in the home. I'm the son of a U.S. Marine, so I saw my dad lead. I saw him lead troops. I saw him lead in times of war, in times of peace. He's the oldest of 7 children, and I got a chance to watch him in the home. And as I grew up and I entered into the federal government workspace, where I worked for 34 years as a mid-level and senior level leader, I had a chance to practice what Dad had modeled in the home. And I had a chance to execute and implement, because I fathered 3 sons, and all of my sons are back to back to back. So they're They're now 23, 24, and 25. So
Mm.
when the oldest one was 2, his baby brother was 1, and then
Right.
his baby brother was a newborn. So
Okay.
I was able to serve them. One son is autistic. One son is just academically gifted. And one son is just trying to figure out what in the world's going on.
Well, he's probably the creative one.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, a lot of creatives, they take a little time to figure out, but in the meantime, they're drawing, they're making music, they're designing.
All of that.
Yeah. So
Working on cars.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So one taught me to be a servant leader. One taught me to be very diligent and meticulous in my study habits. And the other one taught me how to just continue to pour into his life to help lead him and help him to make decisions and solve problems. And then I was able to translate that into the workplace over a 34-year period. And I've been on a double path because I also accepted my call from the Lord. So I've been actively engaged in ministry for 20 years. And I've served in a number of different leadership capacities at the local level, regional level, national level, and international level. And I've had a chance to see how different people react to how they're being led. I've learned from mistakes, and I've learned from what was done right. I've learned to work with people that have multiple different personalities, that have different education levels, grew up in different geographical regions of the country, come from different family units. Some come from traditional 2-parent household, but some come from foster care system, or they may have been adopted, or they were raised by grandmother, or maybe Aunt May or Uncle Billy. So I've had a chance to experience that. So my call in this portion of my life is really to pour into the current and next generation of leaders, but more specifically, how to serve them, because that's what leaders are really entrusted to do: develop people, grow people, value people, respect people, honor people, and serve them. And quite frankly, you'll find that that's where most of our fulfillment comes in life. When you take focus off of yourself and you put it onto others, you're really, really fulfilled when you're in that space. So at a high level, that's really what the book is all about. And I break it down into different areas in terms of how you go about motivating people, how you go about inspiring people, why it's important, why leadership is so important, because leadership is all about influence. Influence can be bad and influence can be good. Mm-hmm. People often wonder, why do people follow him or her? It's because of their ability to influence. And it's not always good. Look at what's going on in our nation right now. We have a certain person in a very high office who's able to influence 70 million people to vote for him. Mm-hmm. That's what leadership is all about. So that's really what we're trying to capture. I believe that great leaders make the world a much better place.
One thing you touched on, just to jump in for a second, is that when you were talking about how you had to be a certain leader for one son, a different type of leader for another son, there are often leaders who feel like that one leadership style works for them and they don't really tweak it depend on who it is that they're leading. So what I'm actually hearing you say is that it is very possible for a leader to have several leadership styles depending on who it is that they're leading at that time.
Yeah, and that's part of what we teach in terms of principles and strategies and tools and nuggets that all of us can take away, because there is no one particular way to lead a group of people, because we're all different. Listen, the beauty of diversity is that we have a diversity of thought. So, all three of us can be shown a particular image or a graphic of anything that somebody puts in front of us. And guess what? We'll have three different perspectives of what we're looking at. Mm-hmm. And so,
well, it's the same. And another example is when people witness something that occurs. Mm-hmm. You can talk to three people who saw the same occurrence or event or situation,
Mhm.
but they're going to have three different interpretations
Yeah,
of the situation.
yeah.
And that's why
absolutely.
they say in a courtroom, witnesses tend to not be that reliable
Yeah.
Right.
because they're trying to remember, or just their perspective can be skewed one way or the other.
Absolutely. It has everything to do with their life experiences. And so
Right.
that's part of the challenge then that we have as leaders who are entrusted to lead others, but more specifically, how we go about pouring into the lives of the current and next generation of leaders, because the examples that we provide are both verbal and nonverbal. People are watching what we do, and they're also assessing what we say.
Yep.
Is what we say lining up with what we do? Is the question. So I don't mean to make it sound as difficult or as challenging as maybe I'm making it sound, because it's really not. But it is something that has to be taught. You know, I often hear the question, are leaders born or are leaders trained? And the answer is, yeah, somebody might have the inclination or the proclivity to be a leader, but they do have to be groomed, they do have to be trained, they do have to be molded and formed so that they can be their best. Absolutely.
Kind of like selling. A person may have a personality where they can sell, but there are selling techniques that a person can learn to make them better salespeople.
Yeah, absolutely. And there has to be a will. You have to have a will to want to sell. People tap me on the shoulder a lot in the different circles that I travel, and some people are saying, "Man, you should be a politician." I said, "No, no, no.
Yeah,
That world is not for me."
yeah. I get that too. I get
Yeah,
that too.
yeah.
They say I should run for something.
Yeah,
No, I'm too honest.
I might be projecting that outwardly, but it's not in my heart. And if it's not in my heart, I wouldn't
Right.
do well at it.
But
Leadership.
Kevin, I think people are saying that they want leaders in politics like you or like me. Like I'm very honest, I have integrity.
Right.
And I have a lot of vision. But the problem with politics is people go in there, it's like going through a meat grinder. If you go in, you come out a different way. You don't look the same way once you come out. It does something to people. It's not.
Francine asked a very great question. She asked, what part does one's emotional health play in your book, if any?
Yeah, well, you know, emotional health has a whole lot to do with you and I knowing ourselves. Self-awareness, it's this emotional intelligence piece that we teach a lot. The more self-aware that we are, and the more emotionally under control that we are, the better equipped we are to pour into the lives of others. People that don't know themselves, people that don't like themselves, are not in tune with themselves, really aren't going to do very well in the company of others in terms of trying to lead them, train them, develop them, and coach them. So it's very key. One of the things that we definitely teach is taking the time to get to know yourself. Do you know your personality? Do you know your leadership style? Do you know what makes you tick? Do you know what ticks you off? These are a lot of different questions that we ask people because it's very, very important. Whether you're leading 15 people or 3 people or 100 people or even more, it's very important to make sure that we understand who we are first so that we can be equipped to handle all the things that we have to deal with people, because people have hurts, habits, and hangups that they internalize. But if you prove to be a trustworthy type leader, over time, they'll open up and they'll have a conversation and a dialogue with you about what's hurting on the inside.
Right.
And that will help them heal. And that's another good sign of something that a leader would do to build the trust, to have the confidence, and to be able to have the conversation to help people to not internalize what's going on, but to have a conversation about it and allow the healing to take place.
A lot of people, I think, well, I think some people who are narcissists, they really don't understand the concept of self-awareness, because to them, self-awareness means everything's about self, when that's not what that's not what it means. Really, it really means that you're able to see your flaws, your shortcomings, and accept them or address them, at least acknowledge them, that they are shortcomings, and work on them, hopefully.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? It's very refreshing to hear from a person that's leading the way. It's refreshing to hear that they do have some issues and some vulnerabilities in different pieces of their lives that they're willing to share and talk about. Because what you're saying is that, you know what, I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. And I need to be surrounded by you all so that we together can go toward that desired outcome. So I need your input. I need your feedback. I need to hear what's on your mind. I need some other thoughts and ideas before I make a decision and solve a problem. What's on your mind? How can you add to the conversation? People really appreciate that, because it shows that you're a good listener, and that you welcome their input, and that you're hearing what
they feel valued.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's important to, that's the importance of a team.
Yeah.
Because when you have a team, you can have different people who really thrive and excel at different things. I know for the work that we do, my husband and I, our personalities complement each other, but I'm not patient. My patience is about this big. I'm more of a structured, organized. This has to be like this, 1, 2, 3. Here you do this, this, and this, and this is what it is. And I'm also not emotional. So I'm not good at dealing with people who get emotional, because but my husband is excellent at dealing with emotional people. So when we have our event, for example, if somebody gets emotional, a lot of times women will get emotional, and they'll get emotional at me because I'm a woman. But
I don't know. You gonna sit there and look at them like they're crazy.
Yeah, I do. I'm like, okay, really? In my mind, I'm going like, really? Is this, and it's about something to me insignificant, but to the person, it's a big deal. So what I do is I say, you know what? Look, you need to talk to my husband, because he will take care of this. And first of all, they won't be talking to him like they were talking to me. Their whole countenance changes with him. But also, he is patient, and he listens to their gripes and their, he listens to their complaint, and they feel much better after that. So it takes different people. It takes a team. And the managers that we have at the festival are just really good. Each one has a different skill set, and they just really do well.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying is not only knowing yourself, but knowing the people you work with as well.
Yeah. And you get to know them by creating an environment and setting the tone that we're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk. We're going to have some dialogue, because until that happens, people will internalize how they feel, because they don't know what the repercussion might be if they tell their leader that they have a vulnerability. So I tell them first. So I'm just like Gwen. I'm a no drama type guy. I stay away from dramatic people and dramatic organization. It's just not me. I don't deal with it very well. And I let people know that we have somebody on our team that will be more than happy to have a conversation with you on that particular topic. And it's not a foul to have that conversation, because now people know, right? And I know on my team who to send them to, so that they can feel comfortable knowing that what's going to be said is going to be held in confidence, it won't be repeated. And it's an opportunity for that person to get it off their chest and have a chance to heal and feel much better. So yeah, I mean, that's what leadership is all, understanding your environment, that sphere of influence, just understanding the people, the temperament, the culture. And then once you understand that, be that navigator and that GPS to kind of help people to get to their next place in life. Listen, I've had a lot of wonderful people in my life that have helped me to better understand my journey, that have poured into me, not just my family, but a number of different friends and colleagues all over the world, quite frankly. And what I'm doing in this chapter of my life is just pouring back, right? So it's been an honor to write this book, because it's a combination of experiences that I have personally dealt with that made me better, as well as practical tips that I've researched and I've studied, whether it's coaching or mentoring or training or speaking, along those lines. And I also include scripture in there as well, to help people understand from a scripture perspective what it means to be a person of influence, to be a leader, and why it's so important, using different men and women in scripture as well, but also using a lot of secular examples. I use the example of the CEO of Southwest Airlines. I take a look at the former CEO of GE. I look at the difference between Chick-fil-A and KFC, their model. Why is it that Chick-fil-A, with probably 3 times fewer restaurants and only open 6 days a week, outsells KFC with 3 times as many locations, open 7 days a week?
Mm-hmm.
I get into that.
I think Chick-fil-A is now outselling all most of the rest of the fast food people too.
I'm gonna tell you, I went to Chick-fil-A and the person was just so cheerful. It made me go like that. They were just so nice and respectful. The customer service is just so on par, and I think that's what people appreciate.
And they pay more.
Yeah.
And they pay their employees more than the other fast food places too.
Well, Rhonda,
and they also invest in college.
Yeah, Rhonda, you said the right word. People appreciate that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. So that's built into their culture. It comes from the CEO of the organization, from the top down.
Top down.
That's
top
their
down.
philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes, if we're honest, sometimes they seem a little bit too overjoyed and too cheerful. But
that's better than having a stank attitude. You don't want that around your food. When it comes to your food, you don't want a bad attitude, because you don't know what they might be doing in the kitchen to your stuff. They also, their drive-through is the fastest. Their drive-through is the most efficient and fastest in the country.
Yep.
I mean, the one close to me now, they have people, I don't know if this is universal. I don't know if it's just here. They have people standing outside taking your orders.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't even have you talking into the box. The box is there, but they have people. The only time you use the box is if it's raining. They have 2 people in both lanes standing outside with the little terminal thing. They have a credit card thing. It's all contactless. And by the time they take your name, I think they put your card type in there. By the time you get to the window, that line goes through. So I think it's about 30 seconds per customer. And I don't eat very much fast food. That's my most likely place. I do like Popeye's chicken, but the service is so spotty depending on which one you go to. And the chicken's normally pretty good, but the service can be very
really on this chicken right now.
the red beans and rice compensates for it.
Yeah, the chicken is normally good if they give you the right order. And I don't like it because I don't like dark meat. And if they give me dark meat by mistake, I'm just angry, especially if I get home. Then that means I don't have any food, because I don't like me. So that recently happened. It depends on the location. That they're not as consistent. I think they're more. I think they may be all franchises, maybe, because that makes a difference too. I think
Mhm.
Chick-fil-A, most of them are company locations, not as much franchise.
Yeah.
So they have, they have a corporate wide way of doing things that really has just worked for them over the years.
Yeah. So, this conversation that we're having right now, it's all about leadership.
Mhm.
It trickles down.
Yes, inspiring
Consistency
fragrance.
versus inconsistency. Knowing what you're going to get versus I'm not sure what I'm going to get today. And it makes
Somebody told me, Benita
and that's
told me
what
I was hilarious.
that's what
On the
that's what
comment.
people are looking for, right? People are
Yeah,
looking.
they are. They're looking for leadership. They're also looking for, what's the word? Friendliness.
Mhm.
Friendliness is not common.
I know, unfortunately.
A smile.
It's friendliness, but while still having that strength to hold people to standards. And I think
Yes.
often leaders want so much to be liked that they don't always hold people to standards. And then people don't appreciate that. They don't appreciate, oh, I got away with something. I better do it right the next time. They're gonna say,
Mhm.
oh, I got away with something. I bet I can get away with it again.
Again.
Let me see if I can push the envelope. So there is a balance between being friendly but still being that standard bearer. And that's another lesson that I learned in the Army as well.
Yep,
That's true. Well, I
absolutely.
was thinking about it more from a customer service standpoint.
Mhm.
Just,
Mhm.
just now when you call places, you don't know what, and big companies aren't any better than the rest. You don't know who you're going to get on the phone. Some of them are helpful and friendly, and some of them are short, with the customer. They're not helpful and they're not friendly. And so it's just being a smile that costs you nothing. This is what a
Yep.
smile
We have
doesn't
3
cost me
minutes
anything.
left, and so we'd love to give you the last word, Kevin.
Mhm.
Pitch the book again, where you're going next, and then maybe give us a last word as we close out, something to think about.
Okay, well, thank you all so much again for the invitation. This is the book, Leadership with a Servant's Heart. The subtitle is Leading Through Personal Relationships. And for this entire year, for 2020, I've actually been on a national book tour. So I've been started out with Gwen in January and February, where I was doing in-person events when
I was
COVID hit.
supposed to do my show back in March, but COVID
Yeah,
happened.
that's right. That's right.
COVID hit. So we went virtual and working with different bookstores around the country, doing some conferences and some summits, lots of podcasts, different ways to get the word out. And it's been a joy. So this is the last month of the year, as we all know, and I'm going to be concluding at the end of this month. But the book is available everywhere that books are sold. Had some really, really good support, some good partnerships throughout the year. And this is really the first. This is the first of 4 more books that will be coming on the topic of leadership. This is what I do. I'm teaching in Africa, in the UK, and Turks and Caicos, and of course here in the United States, something that I'll be doing for a good number of years. And the name of my business is the Johnson Leadership Group, and we can be found at thejohnsonleadership.com. And the email address is thejohnsonleadershipgroup@gmail.com. We teach government, we teach corporations, we teach at churches, nonprofits, and even academia. I work with some of the colleges and universities as well. So the principles are the same, but they're modified based on the audience. But if I can do anything at all to help and assist individually, team, or organization, just reach out and touch. We'll be more than happy to serve you.
Awesome.
Okay, and Kevin, before we go, I know you won some awards with your book. Can you tell us which awards you won?
Yeah, we actually ended up picking up seven literary awards this year in 2020.
Wonderful.
Across the board for the ebook version as well as the print version. All of the details are there on my website. The Christian Indie Award, the Human Relations Award, the New York City Big Book Award, There's 7 in total. I always tell authors that there's a number of different ways to market what we do. And one of those ways is to submit your book to the book industry committee, the review committees that are out there, and have them to evaluate the merits and content. They give honest feedback, trust me. And we were very fortunate to win either first or in some cases second place in a lot of these different categories, specifically around leadership. So we're really grateful for that.
Congratulations.
And look forward to doing some more work in that area.
Congratulations.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being a guest, and Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. Happy
All right.
holidays.
Merry
And
Christmas.
to the whole, you and your wife and your, I see pictures of you all and your sons all the time. So yeah, it's a children are a joy,
Yes.
especially once they grow up and do well.
Yep.
They really make you proud.
I tell them 23 is still on me. 24, you're out the door.
That's a good saying. Okay, and with that, we're going to close. And thank you so much, Kevin, and all the best to you with your upcoming leadership books and next year, whatever you're doing. And if I can help you, let me know.
I will. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You have a great day.
All right. Thank you.
Well, that's it for this week for Black Authors Matter TV. The only thing I have left is to let you know the lineup for next week. And we have 4 amazing authors again. We have Sharday O'Rourke, who's a licensed therapist. We have Cassidy Lee. She has a Christian fiction book and devotional. We have Omar Harris. He's a motivational speaker and an author. He's another person who writes books on leadership. And we have a social justice advocate, Rico McCambry. That's will be on for next week. And we are just very excited about all of our upcoming shows. We have some excellent guests coming up in the remainder of 2020 and for 2021. We already have booked some very excellent authors. We have just one of them. We have Beverly Jenkins booked for the first Tuesday in January. So what day is that? The 5th, January 5th. Beverly Jenkins is going to be on at 7 Central Time. She'll be our first guest that night. And she has written lots of books and won lots of awards. And I think she's got some stuff now optioned for film. So we're going to hear all about that in January. So everybody enjoy your evening. We will be back next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with Black Authors Matter TV.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you for tuning in.